This is breaking right now. Former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort is turning himself in today to Justice Department Special Counsel Robert Mueller. According to a source with direct knowledge of the matter, Manafort was indicted under seal on Friday and is planning to turn himself in, a source said. The indictment is expected to be unsealed later today. The indictment of a top official from President Trump's campaign signals a dramatic new phase of Mueller's wide-ranging investigation into possible collusion between the Russian government and members of Trump's team, as well as potential obstruction of justice and financial crimes. There is no evidence right now to show that there was any collusion between Manafort and the Trump campaign and the Russian government. This, until we see the unsealed document, we don't know. But this is likely to have to do with financial crimes. As you know, the FBI raided Manafort's home, came in at, I think, 3 or 4 a.m. one day with a no-knock warrant, cleaned out every file he had in his condominium in Washington, D.C. Manafort, who was briefly Trump's campaign chairman, I'm not going to comment on this because I'm not a fan. As you know, I've made that clear. I didn't like him when he came in. He didn't like me. And they tried to get rid of me, and Ivanka saved me. So I don't like the guy, but that has nothing to do with anything. I just like to be honest about stuff. So the indictment of Manafort is really going to signal a dramatic new phase of Mueller's investigation. Manafort, whose work for former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych has attracted scrutiny from federal investigators, has previously denied financial wrongdoing regarding his Ukraine-related payments, his bank accounts in offshore tax shelters, and his various real estate transactions over the years. Now, he is the first person in Trump's orbit, and he was the campaign chairman for 2 months, charged in connection with a special counsel investigation, which is exploring whether Trump's actions surrounding the firing of former FBI Director James Comey amount to obstruction of justice. Mueller has taken a broad approach to his mandate that he's including now financial dealings of Trump's team that have nothing to do with collusion. So he's just now investigating individual people. Before the indictment, the FBI in July executed what I just told you earlier, a no-knock search warrant, which is tough to get. That's tough for a judge to sign. That means you don't even have to knock on the door. You just break it in and come in with guns drawn at Manafort's home in Alexandria, where he was there with his wife, seizing financial and tax documents, including some that had already been provided to congressional investigators. That is what we know about this right now. But let me tell you, when the FBI gets a no-knock warrant and they come and they bust in your home at 3 a.m. with firearms drawn, it's not a good sign. You know, it's just not a good sign. And judges don't sign these kind of no-knock warrants without discretion and judgment. Remember, our revolution, the American Revolution against the British, stemmed from no-knock warrants, right? That's why we're free. And we're not part of the English Empire. Joining us now, Congressman, good timing, 7th District, Republican, Virginia, the guy that beat our good friend, the guy that beat never Trumper, Eric Cantor, who's now, by the way, making millions of dollars on Wall Street. And these guys get out. It's amazing. They come to Congress. They somehow make $179,000 and make millions of dollars. I've never figured the math out. I'm not sure Dave has either. I've never figured this out. And then they come out and they make tens of millions lobbying different things, as Eric Cantor is now becoming a multi-millionaire after being beat in that primary in 2014 by Dave Brat. So for all his millions, he can thank Dave for beating him. Dave, good to have you with us, man.
Hey, good to be with you. I was just listening to all that. It's pretty interesting. I mean, the Republicans always kind of fight like Cub Scouts. And so if you follow the rule of law and, if Manafort ran into it, then he ran into it. And that's what we say. But this no-knock thing, it is kind of interesting. I mean, Hillary Clinton uses bleach bit on her computers after they accumulate $2 billion at the Clinton Foundation and a uranium deal where he gets a $500,000 check in the same period and no knock ever on the Dem side. So fair is fair, but I'm waiting for the no-knock over at that Clinton Foundation one of these days, too, and let's take a look at all those records.
Well, Dave, it isn't going to happen because Bob Mueller is the Clinton Iranian deal bag man. And so, I think it's fine that we just start calling all this out and just do it matter-of-factly. I mean, it's not even emotional now. It's just matter-of-fact. I mean, we have a rigged system. If the Republicans do anything bad, they get no-knock warrants, even if there's any evidence there. Meantime, the Clinton Foundation launders money. It was a totally illegal enterprise. Only 13% of the money they so-called raised for the charitable ever went to charity. The other 87% was paid in staff, including the daughter, Chelsea. They shook everybody down for money. They said it was not pay to play, but as soon as Clinton's lost power, then the foundation collapsed and went out of business. Nobody ever talks about this. Remember when James Carville got on TV during the campaign and he said, the Clinton Foundation is saving lives. If you close it down, people will die. Remember that?
Yep.
Are people dying
absolutely.
since it's been closed down? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's a tough world right now. And on the Virginia politics scene, I just want to call out to the listeners just to see, just the standard way of doing politics on the Democrat side. We got Ed Gillespie. His campaign was Ed for all Virginians. He ran the most inclusive campaign imaginable, visited every nook and cranny in Virginia. He went everywhere. And then the last few weeks, out come just the horrendous mailers and TV ads calling the worst possible names, against Ed Gillespie and Jill Vogel and John Adams. I mean, they're all, just stellar on the ethical front, on the personal front, and it's just the standard way of operating. And then if God forbid you make the slightest, little accusation on the Republican side, the press takes you down. It's an amazing politics, but that's why I think we had the revolution on the Trump win. The American people have seen it, and it wasn't just Trump; it was Bernie all the way through the Midwestern states through Trump. And so I think there's a realignment taking place right now, and the press is going to be shocked to see what unfolds.
I think so. This is a major development today. The first person indicted. We understand there were 2 indictments, so we don't know right now. It's not been brought to anybody's attention what the other indictment is, so we'll have to wait for that. But look, they're never going to investigate the Clintons. I mean, they're just not. I mean, I was on. Go ahead, Dave.
And what you just said, right? The fact that we knew an indictment was coming this morning is illegal.
Yes.
So somehow that got leaked.
Oh, that got leaked to CNN
on purpose to stop the momentum on the progress we were making on all this uranium deal thing. And so then they leak, which is illegal, that a indictment is coming Monday morning. And so, I mean, just to throw that in the mix.
It's unbelievable. Dave, let's go to tax reform. Okay, so you pass a budget resolution, right? That passes by the skinny of its teeth on Thursday. So now we go to tax reform, and everybody on pins and needles. When does something actually come out of committee? When do we see it? When does it get unveiled?
Well, supposedly this week, and that is a tough one, right? Most members have we think we have a good understanding of the framework, right? That's crucial to add because leadership showed us an outline. They did not show us an outline on health care, right? That thing ended up being a debacle. So we won't go into all that. But we've got the basic framework. So if they depart from a framework that's been announced, right, with a corporate rate, the S-Corp, and a middle-class tax cut, then there's going to be, then we're going to have major blow-up. But I don't think they are. I think they're staying on course. And so the secrecy this time is different. And, I tell the truth. And so if leadership's rolling us, I've been out there in the past saying so. But in this case, I think they're rolling K Street, which is good news. And so the American people deserved a transparent product before we vote. So hopefully we'll have at least a week or two where we roll it out, let everybody get out a calculator, see how they're doing, prove that there's a middle-class tax cut. And by the way, if the average person wants to read on this stuff, right, and they don't have a budget, wonk background, the Wall Street Journal has been running some pretty good stuff in their op-ed section about the Hassert and Casey Mulligan from Chicago, all the reviews, and there is a consensus among major economists that the tax cut, even the tax cut to corporations and to small businesses, 70% of that tax cut will go to wages, to workers. And so the left always says, 80% of this is going to go to the top 1%. Well, they consider small business in the top 1%. And so it's way off, and this thing is pro-growth. And that's the most important thing we have to keep. And so if K Street comes in and gets all their deductions back, those are called pay-fors. They help pay for the tax cut for the middle class. And so we got a war coming in the next 2 weeks, and we'll see if we can hold firm as a party.
Well, I tell you what, Dave, the swamp creatures are going to be swarming. They're all going to come out of the swamp. That's why it's good as it's Halloween. It'll be like creatures from the Black Lagoon on steroids, if you ever saw that movie with John Agar back in the 50s. Yep. How do I remember these names? They're all going to come out of the swamp. And look, the lobbyists in Washington, they drove the 76,000 pages of the tax code now. I mean, it's 76,000 pages, right? Who can even read this?
Yep, well, and that's the election again, right? I mean, everybody is running against the swamp, and now it's time to see if the party can stand up against the swamp, right? So this will be the indication, plus we failed on health care, and so I don't see how in the world we can fail on this one, right? It's clear who you have to stand up against, and so there's good news. And then also, I just want to put on your show, there's a lot of my base is writing in and saying, we're hearing that leadership's going to put in DACA in the must-pass budget bill at the end of the year, and that would similarly be party suicide, right? I mean,
wow.
That Paul Ryan promised us he would not pull any end run like that when it comes to immigration. He promised us we'd put Goodlatte's 5 bills through the House on the floor, and so. That's the promise we're working on. And in that combination, right, you got to have chain migration and E-Verify, et cetera. But a lot of the base is very concerned. So I just wanted to tell them that would not be received well at all. And Van Jones was on, I think it was Meet the Press this week. He's the ABC anchor, Democrat consultant that comes in. And he said, I mean, a Democrat high-level under Clinton said, maybe the Democrat Party should take a look at this immigration issue, because the polling came out this week and over 50% of Democrats are concerned about illegal immigration. And it really hits the paycheck, the pocketbook issues, right? The cheap labor and the working class on the Democrat side is being hurt so much. The Democrats are now saying, hey, we got to go, back to class warfare. We got to get away from this identity politics, right? This NFL stuff and race and gender and all this. It's not working. It's failing. We got to get back to the economic issues and class warfare like the good old days. Mm-hmm. And so there's a real interesting realignment going on. And so for the Republican Party to go tone deaf on this would just be a shocker.
It would be unbelievable if they tried to backdoor DACA with this whole budget tax thing. But look, you know what? We've seen this, Dave, so many times. We have seen it over and over and over, so it wouldn't shock anybody. Look, Scott Taylor, your colleague, Republican colleague from the 2nd District, Virginia Beach, on AUMF, on the authorization for military force, he told me 2 months ago, he went to Paul Ryan's office. They had it out. Paul Ryan promised him that he would move AUMF to regular order before the end of 2017. That was a lie. That's going nowhere, even after we found out we got 1,000 troops in Niger, and we have no idea why. I mean, the lies that go on in this place is just unbelievable. So hopefully we can get this straightened out. I'm out of time for this segment. I want to thank Dave Brat for being with us and sharing his insight. For more information, you can go to davebrat.com, davebrat.com.